Hey, D Grant back and still in the real and raw mode. Even got my lion tattoo showing off. Hey, I've got a story to share with you that is something that I really relate to and really connect with. And I'm thinking that maybe you will connect with it as well, which is why I'm here to share it with you. So if you're interested in a story that resonates, come on, I've got something special to share with you. Welcome back to you, my friend. After my very uncut, raw talk yesterday, I got myself recentered and back into a better place. And that's really that's really a big part of this process. We are going to feel stuck sometimes, but our opportunity and our decision is: are we going to stay stuck, or are we going to rise above the stuckness, as I've talked about in previous videos, and live the love that we are? Every single one of us has God's divine love inside of us. Are we going to listen to the voice of love within that often speaks very silently, very softly, and sometimes in a language that we don't really understand? Or are we going to continue to be influenced by all the craziness that's going on around us that seems so overwhelming that we don't know what to do? And that was the place that I found myself in yesterday when I shared the video that I made. I'll put a link to it up there in case you didn't see it. But I just got really raw, got really honest about some of the things that I have been coming face to face and whatever this is head on with. And a lot of it is challenging. But I'm recognizing that actually God sometimes gives us challenges. Actually, I would imagine that a lot of the times the challenges that we're facing are things that are given to us as gifts. Because how are we really supposed to know how strong we really are? Unless we have to face some sort of challenge that tests our mettle, that tests our fortitude, that tests our solidarity. Now, you might know this and you might not. I wrote a book that is published in paperback. A lot of the stories and a lot of the books that I have, especially at growthfarming.com, are not in paperback. But I do have two books that are. And one of them is one that I wrote in 2019 called Be Solid: How to Go Through Hell and Come Out Whole. I'll put a link for it down below. It is my story and my way of coming into the realization that I was a super codependent person, that all of the fears that had been brewing inside of me for decades finally came out in the most full way, and I saw it face to face and it wrecked me. But like I said earlier, I had to decide, am I going to stay in this wrecked place, or am I going to choose to rise above the wreckage and step into a different reality, step into a different belief system? And that's what I share inside the book, Be Solid. That's not the story I have to share with you today. The story I have to share with you today is a fictional story, but it tells something that I believe you might relate to. I know I relate to it. It tells the story of a guy named Sam. And Sam lives in this really, really small town in Nebraska. It's a town that I made up. But the streets and the locations and everything, if you were to go to Google Maps and type in some of these highways and stuff, you'll see that those places actually exist. Inside this fictional Nebraskan town, there are a small group of people, a small community, that just about everybody in the community knows each other because it's that small. If you grew up in a small town, you know exactly what it is I'm talking about. I live in a small town, and I don't know everybody here, but I know a lot of people because it's kind of hard not to know just about everybody when you see everybody all the time. Anyhow, Sam was a all-star pitcher in high school, and he was destined for awesome athletic potential. Maybe professional sports, but definitely full ride scholarship, just everything was going for him. But when he was in high school, he didn't really put himself out there very much because inside of him, he had some deep fears that he never really addressed. And he got to college and everything was working out okay, and he was doing fairly well with playing baseball until he blew out his shoulder. When he blew out his shoulder, he got cut from the team and he lost his scholarship. And so what happened? He had to come home. But the home that he came back to was not the home that he left. The home that he came back to, his parents were on the verge of divorce. The town itself was falling apart. People were just living in misery and depression and anxiety. And he felt all of that on the inside of him. Can you relate to that? Maybe having a whole lot of potential and a whole lot of future and everything looking like you're just set. Everything's going to work out and rock and roll for you. And then you get hit with some sort of unexpected event or sequence of events that totally derails all of those plans. And then maybe you have to go back to the place that you came from. The place that you go back to seems just as broken as the view that you have of yourself. So Sam spends a good portion of this book wrestling with these things that he hasn't exactly really come to terms with yet. And one of the other things that he's wrestling with is the fact that a couple of his friends, actually pretty close friends, somebody that was a mentor to him, is found dead. How did that happen? Nobody knows. And these two detectives come down from Lincoln, interestingly exploring a whole series of missing people and random deaths that have all happened within this one area that they think might be a serial killer. But for some reason, instead of pursuing what seems like a serial killer path, trying to find some sort of Hannibal Lecter-like person, these detectives find him. And there's something about Sam that they can't put their finger on, but everything's leading them to exploring what his story is and if he has something that he's hiding that he's not telling anybody. Now, there is hope in this story because, as you know, I'm a hopeful person. One of the hopeful characters in this story is a character named Hope. And Hope is Sam's adoptive little sister. Now, Hope doesn't speak English, not only because she comes from a different country, but also because she's considered to be somewhat mute. And so she mumbles these little phrases that nobody really understands, but Sam's been around her long enough that he can kind of discern what she might be saying or what she might be thinking. But Hope has a special gift. She's able to feel light inside of her. She's able to channel that light outside of her into other people and into nature. And she does this beautiful thing when she goes into town and witnesses the sadness of their whole community. And instead of letting that sadness drench her in more sadness, she chooses to let the light that's inside of her come out. And she sends it out into this small place and witnesses the transformation that takes place. And she gets to experience the transformation ripple effect that happens in nature because of her choosing to use the light within her to make a difference. Now, that's as much of the story that I'm going to share with you. My encouragement to you is to check it out for yourself. The title of the story is Hope Flows. I've got a digital and an audiobook version bundled together so you get both. I'll put a link in the description below. But here's the reason why I want to share this story with you. Oftentimes, we can go through experiences in our lives where we just not only feel stuck, we feel like we've lost everything that was going for us. And then we can come back to a place where nothing seems to make sense, and then we seem to continue to experience more and more loss. And when we're experiencing loss, it's easy to put our focus on just the loss. But part of what we have the opportunity to do as people of light, as divine sources of love, is to go within, and as difficult as it may feel, and as unknown as it may seem to be with the stillness of that light and allow that still small voice to speak to us in the midst of all of our craziness, all of our brokenness, and all of our loss, something that we desperately want to receive. And that is what I am choosing to do right now. That's what I've been choosing to do this week. Amidst all of the stuff that I can't figure out, amidst all the stuff that doesn't seem to be going maybe the way that I want it to, or the way that I've envisioned it being, persisting in the belief that everything really is working out in my favor. And from the power of story, feeling the inspiration to continue to tap into the light within, because the light is where the love is. What do you think? I encourage you to check out this story, experience it for yourself, and let me know how it resonates with you. I appreciate you being here. If you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and share with me how what I've shared with you today has resonated with you. You can do so by dropping down into the comments and letting me know. I appreciate you. I love you, and I'll see you again soon.